One of the most important parts of Art of Fighting 2 is that they iterated on everything they did right on the previous game. Which is to say, if the story was not static, it was constantly progressing, this just gave a huge jump to that. It tied the game to a larger world, to the Fatal Fury world. Also, the characters grew, they evolved. The final boss from the previous game, which we learned during the intro of this game that was Takuma, was Yuri and Ryo's father. He becomes an ally, I guess, and he evolves into the hero side. We learn a lot about him, like he has the scar on his chest. If you finish him with a special move, you see him hurt from that wound. We really don't know much of where he got that wound, but there's character development. In the previous game, he was just a clone of the protagonist with a mask on, and you had no idea who he was. Now you learn that he's his father. You know, he's Ryo's and Yuri's father. Yuri becomes no longer a victim, but also a fighter, and turns out that in about a year, she learns all of the Kyokugen Ryu martial arts. And she's like a prodigy, I think. They mentioned it somewhere in the SNK lore. They mentioned that she's a prodigy, that she's a genius, that she was able to learn all of Kyokugen Ryu martial arts in a very short period of time. So the additions of the new characters was also welcome, at least on the side of Eiji Kisaragi. I think he's one of the cooler ninjas that exist on the fighting game spectrum. I think it's very important that they made Geese Howard the final boss as a hidden boss only if you perform perfectly during the game. It's a great game. They just took everything that worked well in the previous game and they made it better. They expanded the critical KOs, right? The finishers, where you would blow up the other character's outfit or whatever. They expanded that to most characters wherever possible. So it was a very good expansion. What I liked about that game is that it ties into a larger lore. It makes it like its own cinematic universe, I guess. Something, you know, crossovers are something that now we accept very easily in our everyday lives, in our entertainment. But back then, it took some time to coordinate, right? And this game did it pretty well.